the president of the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities started off the drama some weeks ago when he said that the members of the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities, ASU, will embark on strike if the presidency of or the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not honor its agreements to the union. And some days afterwards, the Minister for Education, Dr Abdulmoruf Alausa, responded that it was a fake news, though I read it in the Punch, one of the most respected newspapers in Nigeria, saying that Nigerians should disregard the news, that it was fake news, because he was in communication with all the presidents of the workers, the Federal Universities Workers Unions, including ASU. But now, that was about 2 weeks ago, and now Professor Chris Piwuna, the president of ASU, found his voice again, quoted as saying yesterday that government should honor its agreement with the union, if only because the members of the union are suffering from poor pay. Who are we to believe? Since 2013 till date, the leadership of the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities have been colluding with government to get the fraud called earned academic allowance in lieu of increment of salaries, or better still, the implementation of the 2009 agreement due in 2013. The very year, and that very year, the leadership of ASU has been getting what it calls earned academic allowance, which in reality is a bribe taken from government to stall the implementation of the 2009 agreement, including welfare packages and increment of salaries for ASU members, and yet to see the light of day since 2013 till 2025. And the saddest aspect is that ASU leadership took another fraudulent earned academic allowance even this year, 2025, before now putting pressure on government to honor its agreement, because the members are suffering and can no longer endure the suffering. Who are we to believe? Because the same ASU leadership, dating back to 2012, singularly amended the constitution of the union, stipulating that 2% of each ASU member's monthly salary monthly will be deducted for the union. 2% of each ASU member's monthly salary monthly. And that the increment can the extortion can increase or decrease. The 2% can increase or decrease as deemed fit by the leadership alone, without reference to the congresses of the union. And that has been the situation, or let me say that was the situation 2012 to 2024. And despite complaints by some members that 2% of each member's monthly salary monthly is not equal amount of money from each member, whereas each member has equal rights and entitlements in the union. So the obligation to the union should be equal. That means there should be a definitive amount to be paid as subscription by members and not salary percentage. ASUU leadership turned deaf ear, and rather than doing justice in 2024, ASUU leadership increased the amount being deducted to 3% of each member's monthly salary monthly. So if ASUU leadership is now shedding crocodile tears that the members are suffering from poor pay, it is a case of what the Yoruba people call Ajala Tanao Shebi Wonan. Ajala, who beat you, you are the one. So on two levels, ASUU leadership and government and the university's administrators have been colluding to perpetrate extortion and the exploitation of ASUU workers, because without the university's administrators and government cooperating with ASUU leadership, extortion of a percentage of each ASUU member's monthly salary monthly is not possible. And government will not be paying fraudulent and academic allowance to the leadership of the union rather than to individual members. But the allowances of each member were not calculated. It was just a bribe, fraudulently called and academic allowance, from which the leaders and their cronies become automatic multimillionaire each time the money is paid. But ASUU leadership has always deceived ASUU members that we should go on strike for the 2009 agreement, which includes welfare packages and increment of salaries. But when we as members have considered to the strike and they backed on strike, ASUU leadership will end the strike upon getting fraudulent and academic allowance rather than implementation of the 2009 agreement. Well, so we now say, okay, since they have gotten another fraudulent and academic allowance this year, 2025, now that they are talking of strike, we can only hope that no other fraudulent and academic allowance will surface in the demands of ASUU, and that ASUU leadership will no longer pile on government numerous demands that will submerge the 2009 agreement. So now the drama between the current president of ASUU, Professor Chris Piwuna, and the Minister of Education, Dr Abdulmoruf Alausa. Where do we go from here? Who do we believe? Who do we trust? Will ASUU again? Is ASUU again itching for another fraudulent end academic allowance, or implementation of the 2009 agreement. For God's sake. Because once beaten, twice shy. ASUU leadership deceiving ASUU members to go on strike that will end with payment of the fraudulent end academic allowance to the advantage of the leaders and their cronies, and detriment of the overwhelming majority of members who got pittance, who always got pittance from the scam. Because it was not calculated, the allowances of workers were no longer calculated but a bribe taken by the leadership of the union, and shared with the non-academic unions. You call it end academic allowance, sharing it with the non-academic unions who should get their own allowances. It clearly shows it was a conspiracy and the extortion, exploitation. So we are, as members of us, are looking forward to government to rescue us from the clutches of a wicked workers union extorting a percentage of each worker's monthly salary monthly, starting with 2% in 2012 and graduating to 3% in 2024 under the same government that we expected will liberate us from the extortion. Because the extortion is not possible if the university administrators and government are not cooperating. But university administrators also want to exploit workers. Aha. And now in some universities, ASUU has been solidly pocketed by the university's administrators. So, and the rights and entitlements of ASUU members are not secure. The university administrators pay what they want to pay. No union is fighting except maybe when they decide to pay lip service and create the impression of fighting for the union. In the same way that they have been deceiving the members with strike for 2009 agreement that never materialized in the implementation of the 2009 agreement due since 2013, but in getting fraudulent end academic allowance. Is ASUU leadership shedding another crocodile tears about the miserable condition of work for the lecturers and the non-academic workers too? Because once they take their bribe from government, is shared with the non-academic unions, which leaders also become automatic multimillionaire together with their cronies at the expense of common workers. So we have become third-class citizens in the hands of our union's leaders. That's the situation. So if ASUU ends up, if ASUU leadership ends up declaring another strike, we will give it benefits of doubt and go on strike. Because now this is 2025, this is the same year they have taken the bribe that they normally take, the fraudulent and academic allowance, which we now hope will not surface in the demand of ASUU, and that ASUU leadership will not pile up demands, capital intensive demands that will submerge the implementation of the 2009 agreement. So if ASUU leadership is blaming government, we know that ASUU leadership is not sincere, and the universities administrators are mum, but underground they are solidly behind ASUU leadership. Some of the vice chancellors have been ASUU leaders themselves. So exploitation of workers is second nature to some of the university professors, vice chancellors. That's the fact of the case. So, common federal universities workers, academic and non-academic, have three principal, extremely powerful enemies. The leaders of the workers' unions are including, academic and non-academic unions. Their leaders are the number one enemies of the workers, academic and non-academic. The second extremely powerful force militating against the welfare of federal universities workers are the universities administrators, headed by vice chancellors, professors, for the most part. And in the third instance, the government itself. So we are appealing to government to repent from giving fraudulent and academic allowance to workers, to repent from preferring to bribe workers' unions leaders to doing justice to workers. God will not be happy about it. And in the second instance, to come to the workers, to the rescue of the members of ASU being extorted to the tune of 3% of each worker's monthly salary monthly, while no percentage of each worker's monthly salary monthly should be due to any workers' union in the name of a workers' union. A workers' union is a union of equal members with equal rights and entitlements, and so equal obligation. Stipulate an amount to be paid on monthly basis by the workers, and not a percentage of each worker's monthly salary monthly, let alone graduating from 2% in 2012 to 2024 and increasing to 3% for no justifiable reason. And now the same people extorting their members are crying that they are miserable because of poor pay. Extreme insincerity on the part of the unions leaders, the universities administrators, and the government. So, you want to see the picture of Nigeria, look at what is happening in the federal universities workers. Boko Haram. End academic allowance that is not end academic allowance. A workers' union entitling itself to a percentage, whatever percentage, of each worker's monthly salary monthly, turning the workers into their own fiefs. So ASU became a fiefdom since 2012 till date. One of the things that went wrong under Goodluck Ebele Asikwe Jonathan as Nigeria's president, 2011 to 2015, and never rectified by his successors, including Muhammadu Buhari and Bola Ahmed Tinubu.